Hashtag rise and grind. And as I stepped into this cove, the most incredible experience, I literally had the most incredible experience as I found a 200-year-old cemetery. A 200-year-old cemetery where Pamelia here was born June 25th, 1825, and died at 19 years old in 1844. On this tombstone here, it was kind of hard to see, but this one was James, and James was born in October 28th of 1825 and died in 1843. I'm pretty sure that this was Mom here. Her name was Eliza Weathers, and I know that Liza name carries a very strong name. And as you can see right here, this woman was born on June 10th, 1801. And I just began to imagine that this was a pre-Civil War era. Most of the headstones were born in the early 1800s and died in the mid 1800s. So this was all just pre-Civil Wars when this family lived on this particular land. And at that time, obviously, the country was riddled with slavery, but it was also a time of independence, right? They had just fought for their independence in 1776, which we will celebrate at my house here on July 4th. So we're not that far removed from the independence of America. And when you look at this particular time, most people lived like actually in cities, not just out in the woods. As a matter of fact, I looked up the cities back then. So in this time period, New York City had roughly 60,515 people in New York City. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania had roughly 41,000 people at the time. If you go down, you can see Boston, Massachusetts had about 25,000 people was the population. Baltimore, Maryland was populated at about 26,000. And in Norfolk, Virginia, you had 7,000 people. So that's the time period we're talking about. Not a lot of people in the United States of America. We just freshly gotten our independence. And what was really neat is from that period in time, 1800 to 1850, most of those cities that I just listed, their population increased sevenfold. 7 times, some more. New York went from 60,515 to like 500 and something thousand. Philly went to 200,000, right? Like the population was jumping, the pressure to be a part of these cities, all of the opportunity existed in the cities as the people were growing and all of the opportunities were popping up. And yet these people chose to live in the middle of nowhere, outside of Lexington, Kentucky, 15 miles out, in the middle of nowhere with just them in their home, in the simple life. And I thought about how they lived off of the land and how they did it together. I thought about how each of them helped to raise the next generation for their family. I thought about how they all worked the land and the creek and the animals, and how they spent nearly every beautiful moment of their lives together. You could see it. You could see it when you traced the headstones. You could see where the children were born, where the children passed away. You could see that this family stayed together for decades upon decades upon decades. And it was beautiful. And as I reflected on that, and as I experienced that, as I got to really absorb that and feel that and live that, I thought, man, we've lost this in America. This desire to like really get our hands dirty, to dig in, to grow our families, and to minimize our lives, and to ultimately use our imagination. But then as I had that thought, I thought back and I thought, wait a minute, that's not true, Glenn. Only as adults As adults, we've lost that in America, but as kids, it still exists. There's so much we can learn from the kids who truly don't see color. There's so much we can learn from the kids who truly don't complain or make judgment based on the decisions, the things that we have to do in America today. The kids, my kids, which I have lots, another one on the way if you missed it. Brandon's going to have to change the announcements, right? But my kids go out every day and attack the day with such vigor. They climb the trees, they build the forts, they swim in the ponds. They love life and they're not afraid of work. My kids work their tails off, man, with a smile on their face and gratitude. They do it all with pure hearts and pure minds, with no expectations for tomorrow. They're so present, so ridiculously present. And so this week, I want to really dive into that. I want to extract that success equation so that we can go back as a country, we can start as a community, and ultimately, hopefully, as a country, we can go back to a place where we have some innocence, a place that is pure, a place that is filled with energy and love, a place where we act out the foundation for which God built us on.
Hashtag rise and grind. Hashtag rise and grind. First thing on my mind.